Hey, what's happening, gamers? I'm Kwing, and welcome to our Let's Play channel. How y'all doing? Today is a Uber fan request that I'm super excited about. Stephanie Brown, aka The Spoiler, and my all-time favorite Batgirl, like ever. Though her run was very short as Batgirl, it was amazing, and I still have every single issue. Anyway, her minifigure is, of course, part of the heroine and villainess's free DLC update that released a while back. She's a member of the Bat family, and Steph can actually turn invisible like the New 52 comic. She also throws stuff as a Bat Grapple and can glide. So that's what her abilities are. Now what you all came for though, her background. She was created by one of my favorite Robin and Nightwing writers of all time, Chuck Dixon, in 1992. She was the daughter of Cluemaster. Not a fan of her father's criminal activities, she sets out to spoil his fun as the Spoiler. No, I'm being serious, that's what she does. At first, Batman does not like her working with him at all due to what happened to Barbara in The Killing Joke several years ago, so he's very rude and cold to her, trying to crush her dreams of being a costume hero. But she takes a shining to Robin even though she doesn't know his secret identity, and eventually they become a couple, a DC power couple. They work together as partners and go on many adventures together. Tim gets very emotional when villains kidnap her too, and Stephanie feels the same when she needs to rescue Robin, who's trapped in a cement prison, which is an amazing issue, by the way. I still have it. I read it recently after I got all my comics back from my parents. Anyway, the character actually gained so much popularity that she became a main character in the first ever Robin comic series and remained a major focus until her death in 2004, where of course she was tortured at the hands of Black Mask. A very controversial storyline that would eventually have DC fold and bring Steph back in 2008, where in 2009 she would become the new Batgirl, have Babs as her mentor, and get her own rocking comic book till, you know, the New 52. Back to the Robin series though, because it's so fun to talk about. Steph was the best thing to ever happen to Tim Drake. She made crime fighting fun and a teenage wonderland to boot. She would drop in on Robin's stakeouts occasionally and consider busting crooks going out on dates. She would also hop in the Redbird, which was Robin's car, and they would just hang out like all the time, talking about teenage stuff. Her personality I like to call a mix between Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson. Spoiler loves to make fun of thugs and supervillains alike. She's not prejudiced. Unlike the original Batgirl and Robin though, Tim and Steph were actually a real couple, or just shy of a decade. Though Robin would never really tell Steph his real name, this arrangement for their dating worked for a while, but Steph really wanted to make sure that Robin really loved her and could trust her with something as precious as his identity. Not long after they were dating, Stephanie learned that she was with child from an ex-boyfriend though, shortly after the Batman Cataclysm story, which is the earthquake that destroyed most of Gotham. So Steph had to deal with something very difficult for her, which was teen pregnancy, and she had to leave school. Her mom actually sent Steph to Keystone City, where she would remain until after she had her child. Robin, under a fake identity, and sweet shades by the way, he moves to Keystone City to be with Stephanie and helps her during the last months of her pregnancy. He then helps give the child up for adoption, which is the hardest thing Stephanie ever had to do. The two then return to Gotham, but Tim is immediately sent away by his dad to a boarding school, which creates a long-distance relationship for the two of them. Steph later sees Robin on patrol with another girl and breaks up with him, accusing him of cheating on her. Tim then gets elected for a secret mission to go to Tibet for something. I think he was working with Catwoman, I forget. But Stephanie misses her boy Wonder so much, and Batman then tells her Robin's real name, which makes her happy but drives a wedge between Batman and Robin. Still, young love proves stronger, and Steph goes back to Timmy. They resume their relationship without the masks and go out as Stephanie and Tim Drake. DC throws another wrench into their relationship though when the US government tells Steph and her mom that Cluemaster was killed as part of Task Force X. She's really upset and takes out her emotions on the streets as the Spoiler, which is something Batman does not condone. She then cuts ties with Tim for a while and goes after the last person to see her father alive, the Riddler, so she can get revenge. Tim follows her and they mend their relationship once again. For whatever reason, I've noticed a pattern going back and looking at these stories. DC likes to push these two together and then rip them apart violently, similar to the dynamic between Batgirl and Nightwing if you think about it. Anyway, during a patrol gone bad, Stephanie is severely injured by a villain named Johnny Warlock. Tim lets his emotions get the best of him and beats Warlock to death, which makes Timothy the first Batman character to actually kill somebody in a very, very long time. He then blames the whole thing on Stephanie when it was his own fault. Still, Steph helps Tim through this time, and then his father learns that he's Robin, he's forced to retire, and falls into depression. Steph shows up after school one day to cheer him up and sees him with another girl, who's actually hitting on Tim, and Tim is like, "You don't understand, this isn't what it looks like." But Stephanie breaks up with him, doesn't want to hear anything about it, and then makes her own Robin costume and shows up at the Batcave demanding Batman let her be the new Robin. Batman's like, yeah, whatever. Steph was Robin for about 4 months in the comics and gets fired by Batman. She's also responsible for causing the gang war known as War Games, using a plan that Matches Malone had created to kind of throw Gotham's crime people for a loop. Not realizing, of course, that Matches Malone is Batman, Steph tries to make the plan work without him. And things go crazy. Black Mask discovers who Stephanie Brown is and that she was the last Robin. He captures her. Tim tries to save her and the rest of the Bat family too, but everyone is too late. Though she appears to be dead, we later learn that it was all facade. Or DC just caved under the massive wave of complaints. No one really knows though. Tim loses it when she's gone though and works solo, doesn't even want to be around Batman. And during Infinite Crisis, he loses his best friend, Connor Kent, too. And everybody's just like, Dido is the biggest troll ever. Anyway, years later, Spoiler does return, calling herself Violet, and she works for the Penguin. So she's kind of a bad guy now. Robin, thinking some other girl is trying to do what his girlfriend did, is pretty angered by this new vigilante, which actually kind of spooks Steph to see Tim this way. And this is somebody she knew very, very well before she went into hiding. After following the girl to a Penguin warehouse, he learns the truth that it's really Stephanie. Batman expects Robin to be super angry with her, but instead he kisses her and holds her tight. She then re-enrolls in Tim's high school and rejoins the Bat family officially, and Batman welcomes her with open arms. Though everyone's kind of like, hey, how come you didn't have a memorial for Stephanie in the Batcave? Which a lot of comic fans always ask, and Batman's always like, well, there was a possibility that she was still alive, so that's why. It's not because she was a girl or anything, and this is a clubhouse for dudes. It's just, yeah, and everybody's like, uh-huh. So, yeah, unlike Jason Todd, she never gets a memorial. She and Tim are once again an item, and they resume their costume partnership and have some fun stories for a little bit. Well, until Batman R.I.P. when, well, of course, history repeats itself and they break up. Because this time, Tim accuses her of following Batman's orders to make him a better Robin after his disappearance. While he thanks her for the assistance in becoming a better Robin, he doesn't like her methods, and he breaks her heart and dumps her, like right on a rooftop. He then orders Stephanie to retire as the Spoiler and leaves, saying, "I never want to see you again." Not a great storyline for Robin or Spoiler fans, and it's just another reason for DC to break up the Teen Wonder couple, which really bothered me looking back. They never really show how, but they do get back together because DC's like, you know what, there's a good thing when these two are together, so we can't have them going through all this teenage angst. It doesn't really work. So when Timothy is leaving the Titans, Stephanie shows up to, announce, hey, we're back together, and I'm not joining the Titans. I'm actually here to take your leader back to Gotham. And everybody's like, whoa, Robin's leaving the Titans? And yeah, this actually did happen. For a time, Tim did leave the Titans, and leadership fell under Cassie's arms. And it was a fun read for a while for Spoiler, until Batman is officially killed by Darkseid. And the two have to kind of focus on stopping Jason Todd, the new Batman, in Battle of the Cowl. And of course, they choose to work on Dick Grayson's side, more or less. Although Robin still doesn't believe Batman's dead, but he's like, you know what, we need to take down Todd first. And Stephanie works with him to do that. Although she's not around when he almost gets killed by Jason Todd, which always bothered me. They were partners. She should have been there to help him fight. But after Tim survives that just barely, and Stephanie does something that no girlfriend should ever do. She does not take his side. In fact, she sides with Dick Grayson and everybody else that believes Batman is not alive, when Tim is the only one that believes in his heart that, Batman is still alive. Darkseid couldn't have killed him because he's the Batman. And she's trying to console him, and Tim doesn't want anything to do with that because he knows he's right, and he's not going to let anybody, including Stephanie, get in his way. So when he gets fired as Robin, or demoted, and he becomes Red Robin, Stephanie is so worried about him that she follows him to his new base, and is attacked by Tim, now calling himself the Red Robin. She pleads with her love not to do this, and he says, "You sided with Grayson, we're done again, and I never want to see you again." And it's just kind of like, okay, this is turning into a Korean dramedy. If you've read the comics, Robin, of course, leaves Gotham to hunt down Ra's al Ghul for answers into Batman's disappearance, because when something freaky happens, you know Ra's is to blame. She then becomes the next Batgirl during Tim's absence, and that would be a video for another day, because there is a lot of material about Stephanie Brown as Batgirl. So, yeah. A lot of stuff to go over, maybe during Arkham Knight or something like that, if Batgirl is mentioned or Stephanie is mentioned or something. So I'm going to save that for another day. The Batgirl run, though, was a much-needed change for DC Comics at that time, and it was one of the most popular books, next to, of course, Green Lantern and Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin. Barbara trains Steph and gives her a new costume, which she actually got her first Batgirl costume from Cassandra Cain, who retires after she thinks Batman is dead. And Barbara actually has kind of a mentor slash Bruce Batman Beyond-like relationship with Stephanie, telling her what to do and things like that, which I thought was always kind of cool that they brought that dynamic into the series. Not so much being Oracle, but more like, you know, watch out, I can see this through your eyes, all that cool stuff. During her time as Batgirl, she goes to the Gotham University as a student and works closely with the new Batman, and Damian develops a crush on Stephanie, which was kind of cute. They argue similar to Robin and Batgirl from the 2004 show, and it's adorable. But strange to see young Damian moving in on Tim's girl, which Tim is not too happy about when he actually learns she's Batgirl, and he restarts to open up feelings for her, even though he's with somebody else. The Batgirl series eventually ends with Stephanie working with Batman Incorporated to stop Leviathan, which was some type of cult, I forget. I didn't really pay attention to that. She then either quits being Batgirl or something else happens. Actually, what happens is Flashpoint, and Steph, along with everybody else we loved, vanishes. That is until Convergence Batgirl #1, which released this month, and it was kind of a fun read. In the issue, Steph is mostly retired, but works with Red Robin and Black Bat from time to time, mostly in crowd control and helping when things escalate in the Dome. It's hinted that she and Tim are also back together as well. At least the way that they're interacting together in the first comic that I read. Life under the Dome has not been easy for everyone, though, and it's pretty hard for people. Though for some, like Harley Quinn and the former Batgirl, they get their lives back in a way that they never could before. Stephanie has graduated college, and she becomes a nurse working at a Gotham clinic, and has given up the hero work altogether. She keeps in touch with Tim, and the two go out on occasion, and her roommate is once again still Cassandra Cain. Once the Dome is lifted, though, Stephanie's world is turned upside down, and Batgirl is chosen as a champion to fight the other cities for survival. Similar to the Hunger Games, more or less. Drake and Kane do their best to train her at the last minute, but the three of them are then transported into the desert to face Gorilla Grodd. It's unknown what will happen to her and Tim, though, so you need to stay tuned for Batgirl #2 of Convergence, which I think comes out in May. As for the New 52, she has no relationship with Red Robin, and other than a cool invisibility aspect to her costume, she doesn't really do all that much as a member of the Bat family. But in the Future Ends book, she actually ends up becoming a Batgirl and working for Barbara Gordon. While it's nice to see the character again, the real Stephanie Brown is fighting for her very survival and existence on a very far, far away planet. Steph actually had a brief cameo in Young Justice in terms of other media, and has no other known appearances, which is a shame because she's awesome. And well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it. I said this lore would be long, and I wasn't kidding. I also left out a ton, which again I may talk about in Arkham Knight videos this summer. Because believe it or not, it's actually very hard to chat about Stephanie Brown without bringing up my favorite Robin, pre-52 Tim Drake. But basically, they're an inseparable duo, so I can't talk about one without talking about the other. So when I talk more about Tim Drake, because he's in Arkham Knight, gonna talk about Stephanie and some of their adventures, because they just went so well together, okay? Anyway, thanks for watching my spoiler lore. In the comments section below, tell me what character you would like to learn about next time. Have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen, and until we meet again, God bless and happy gaming. I'll see you in the next LEGO Batman 3 video.